Uh, Ladies, gentlemen, gamers, and fellow TikTok enjoyers, welcome back to another TikTok reaction. It's motherfucking Friday, so you know we out here motherfucking reacting to more dark dimensional TikToks. So if you don't know what this series is, by the 33rd episode, which this one is the 33rd episode, I'm a little surprised and shocked, but I'm still welcoming you. And for your viewing pleasure, I'm going to describe what we're going to be doing here. What is this whole shtick about? So, the world is a dark, dark place, dark and evil and dank. And a lot of people seem to have hope. And like the cynic I am, and because I want to be proven right, I'm going to show videos that basically show the truth of the world as I think I know it. Which is that a lot of things are actually more fucked up than people think, and a lot of people are just kind of hopeful. Now, that's not to say I'm doing this for evil reasons. I'm doing this for the hope that things change. I don't want things to be bad, but things are way too bad. They're too corrupt, they're greedy, and so on and so forth. We're living in a dark dimension, essentially. So, we're going to go through some videos. I got some food here. Hopefully, we'll go quick because I have a lot of other stuff to do today. But we'll see because these typically go for a while. So, let's get into it.
Okay, across the street,
Oh,
we have a delivery truck carrying food.
oh, look, this is
to
in New
offices,
York.
construction sites
This,
all
you
around.
know what's so ironic about this? This literally looks like where I work.
Sheetrock, where'd it come from? On a truck.
Oh,
Nothing moves without
whoa.
us.
That's true. So this is about trucking. Typically from what's been going around now in society, with everything being shit economically and more people struggling economically, a lot of people want a better job. And one of the good jobs out there that has been touted is, hey, and I always hear it for myself too. This is where I have personal experience with this. Hey, why don't you get your CDL? And this is where I would say it's it's honestly a pretty good idea. I hear truck drivers make a lot. Now, honestly, the way I imagine truck drivers is I imagine you're gonna be like getting on a truck and driving across the country, not gonna be home for like a week or a month. But I honestly don't know what it's really like. I feel like it's a little more realistic where you're probably just driving for like 8-10 hours maybe. But you probably make a lot of good money, and you generally it's literally just driving. I mean, obviously it's a truck, but it's literally just driving. Now, one thing I want to put forward is this video is 10 minutes. I don't know if we're going to watch the full 10 minutes because already in the first minute, we're already 3 minutes in, and we know how long I could go, unless you're new here. So I'm going to try and limit it to a certain point, but we'll see how good it is. Again, it's been so long since I've watched these. I think we're at August 18th at this point. So we're about a month and change behind, as always. Hopefully, we're gonna get closer to where we're at now. And recently, I've actually started sending myself a lot more videos, but until recently, we should have not too many videos to go through to get decently caught up. But I don't really remember what's in this one, so we'll see if it's good or not.
Many owner-operators now are homeless.
What?
They cannot afford to have a home.
Bruh.
This is my home.
Okay, this is sad. And this is where maybe, like, it goes back to what I said, where they're driving the truck so much anyway, it basically is their second home, or in this case, I guess their first, because they can't afford a home. But that's actually crazy. I heard having a CDL, obviously not in reality guarantees you a good wage, but pretty much guarantees you something, like, decently well. Like, I heard upwards of, like, 80K up, 80, 100K up. If you have a CDL, that's what you'd get. Maybe not starting, but you'd eventually be able to work to that pretty easily, I would think. But this is crazy how even people who have CDLs, which from what I've heard, has been touted to be like the thing to get a really good paying, well, not really good, but like a good paying job for the common man, is like now being said here by this guy who's obviously a trucker. I'm not doubting him. We like to doubt a lot of things here. We like to question the veracity and the truth of things. I'm not gonna question this guy. This guy's a fucking trucker. If he's saying there's people who are homeless who have CDLs, I mean, I question a lot of things on them, but I more often than not will probably put the blame on the economy because things are just getting shittier and shittier. And I'm going to add a little spoiler for the future because we're not going to get to it today because I sent it to myself today. There's new videos coming out of like, I think a multi-millionaire, like, I forgot what it's called, like a gala or some bullshit, where millionaires came together to like talk to each other and like, suck each other's cocks. And one of them said the most outrageous shit ever about unemployment and about employee employer relationships. I can't wait to get to that episode. I can't fucking wait. But that's a guy where, an employer, a very rich employer, says like the employees have it too easy, essentially, which is ridiculous.
I live with my truck, whether I stay in a hotel or I sleep sitting
Hey,
up in the driver's seat.
that's the bridge to
This
New
is my
York.
life. Why? I work 12
We
to
all
14
work.
plus hours a day.
Okay, that's ridiculous. Working that much is like, man, I feel bad for your ass. And look at this poor guy. He's old and he's smoking. Like Jesus Christ,
But I don't earn enough.
bruh.
This is Billy Randall. He's been a long haul trucker for over 30 years. We're
Jesus.
working on a new series now about jobs in America that used to be stable and middle class and are all but gone.
Yeah, and this is because of a whole bunch of factors. I think the two biggest factors is inflation and housing prices, which inflation, kind of affects, but housing prices have ballooned out of control. What does everyone need? They need food, medical care, housing, and that's pretty much it. You could put education and internet and all this other stuff in, but there's a lot of dumb people who've never went to school who are making a lot of money. Now, granted, is that through nepotism or other means? I don't know. But this is where these couple things that I mentioned, housing and stuff, and medical care, these are things you pretty much need. And the fact that these are ballooning out of control and inflation is on top of it, like almost no job is going to be safe. More and more, as I believe we're in late stage capitalism. I don't know when the breaking point is, but I feel like we're going to see it. I honestly feel like we're going to see it.
One of the most dramatic shifts from good job to bad job is in the trucking industry.
Crazy.
Trucking used to be one of the most coveted blue collar jobs in America.
Wild.
The average trucker made $110,000 a year.
Bruh.
That's enough to raise a family and have a home.
And then some. At least it used to be.
Now many of them, like Billy, are barely making minimum wage.
No, Billy!
Retire.
Wait, what do they mean minimum age or wage? I was about to say age. When they say minimum wage, does that mean their pay has gone down, or that inflation has eaten into their pay, so even if they're getting the same, it's not enough anymore? Because those are two different things.
To be in the back of the economy because our backs are broken.
We're going to unpack exactly what happened through the stories of two truckers that are struggling. One who's been a driver for decades, and one who's trying to make a life for himself in the industry.
Also, you could just see the difference between like the two generations. The older guy is skinny, he's a workaholic. This young guy is fat because he's young, he's probably a gamer. Let's see.
This is the class
If not a gamer, then, it's just the culture, I guess.
for more perfect union. And today
Oh.
we're looking at why truckers can't make a living.
Which is insane. I kind of seem like an idiot now when I said like, oh yeah, trucking was such a good job. Well, I'm apparently being proved wrong now, if we're to believe this.
All hours work, all hours paid.
I met Billy at a rally in DC with the Truckers Movement for Justice.
Good for Billy. This is where more and more, and I'm going to give another little spoiler here for the future videos, more and more unions are popping up and more strikes are happening, which I really, really am glad about this. I think it was the UPS strike that kind of sparked this, because now what is it called? The automotive industry is striking. The Writers Guild is still striking. All these people are now striking. And hopefully this is the start of something even better, where we're going to question now, and we're like, hey, can we get paid a living wage? Hey, why are things this way? Why do things not make sense? Why is everything corrupt? Hopefully it leapfrogs into that, but at the very least, it seems like a fire is starting to spread. So I'm very happy.
Billy's a little bit of a wild man. He's
Oh.
currently trying to lead strikes in the coal mines of West Virginia and the oil fields of Texas. And
Yeah.
I think he might pull it off.
Oh, wow.
Billy has a vision. The truckers would be organized again after 40 years of not having power.
Damn.
Let's go back a little bit. This might be what you think of when you think of a trucker.
Is that Chuck
An outlaw,
Norris?
a guy on the road with nothing to lose.
It was never like
But in
this.
reality,
That literally looks like a show that my grandparents would watch.
a lot of them lived pretty regular lives and went home to their families every night.
See, that's the thing I can't imagine. I thought truckers were on the road far away from their homes.
It was a hard, dirty job, but it was a good job.
The truckers I met in Washington all had the same complaints.
A breakdown, honestly, it'll put me out of bed.
I don't want to lose my company. I don't want to lose my trucks. I don't want to lose my home.
Wait, so are these people the owners?
Pay is low, the cost of doing business is high.
Oh.
Let's get back to Billy.
Yo, look at Billy. By the way, look at all that graffiti. This has to be New York.
Like 350,000 other drivers in America, Billy is an owner-operator,
Wait,
meaning he
what?
owns his own truck.
What? He owns that shit? Wow. Of the people I do know who do trucking, do, they get their truck from a company.
It also means he's responsible for the overhead, repairs, insurance, maintenance. And if something goes
Crazy.
wrong, it can cost him.
Wow.
Today the truck broke down. A very minor repair, but nonetheless, it created a problem with the delivery.
Ooh, and that's bad.
I've got, not to publicize this, $1,200 to my name.
That is depressing. This is really true what they say. Wait, so 1,200, right? 1,200 is 1,200 if I'm not being stupid. I am sleep deprived, so please excuse me if I'm wrong. But $1,200 to his name. This is where I always mention the statistic of, what is it? Like 60% of Americans only have $1,000 worth of savings or whatever. I think that's the statistic I keep spouting, as I'm gonna spout 90% of the same shit in every episode. Or maybe I'd raise it to 95 now. But yo, this is crazy, man. This is where I'm questioning what type of life does Billy have? Because does he spend extravagantly? I mean, I don't think he does. Obviously, he smokes cigarettes, and those are pretty expensive. But there's no way if the average like pay is 110, like he should have $1,200 to his name, unless it's his fault. But I don't think it is. Damn, he's
Truckers like
just
to say, if
sad.
you bought it, a truck brought it. Truckers take great pride in that work, but that work can often be pretty tough for them.
This is
Damn.
Steve Vaselli, a former truck driver who's been studying the industry for over a decade.
He looks like a truck driver too. I like how his book was called The Big Rig. This is an unrelated note, kind of related, semi-related, where there was a game that Jerma9A5 played, one of my favorite long-time watched YouTubers. I was literally watching that guy since I was in middle school. And he got me into TF2 and Smite, believe it or not. But, little tidbits of Chris Allen lore. This is where he played a terrible, terrible, disgusting game called, like, Big Rigs Off the Roads Racing, and it has been burned into my mind because that is the worst game ever made. The thing should not have even been sold. It's so funny.
Steve says one of the main causes of wage decreases was deregulation.
Oh.
Before the 1930s, trucking was unregulated and stuck in boom and bust cycles. The economy would be strong and things would be moving in trucks, and then suddenly there would be a downturn,
I wonder how trains affected this.
and truckers were out of work. Trucking is so crucial to the economy that in 1935, the federal government started heavily regulating the industry by setting shipping
Wow.
prices and limits on how many trucks could be on the road.
The federal
Oh.
government essentially set the rates for trucks. If you were going to move steel from Youngstown to New York, you would go to something called the Interstate Commerce Commission, and you would say to them, hey,
ICC.
my costs to move this steel are $1 a mile. And the Interstate Commerce Commission would say, well, okay, then you can charge $1.06 per mile to your customers, whether it's U.S. Steel or a mom and pop machine shop that needs to move it.
Freight was moved from terminal to terminal, where local deliveries would combine smaller loads together and send them to the next
Oh,
terminal through
shit.
long-haul truckers.
What that meant for drivers was a lot of them were home every night and they
Wow.
had regular schedules. It also meant that those
That guy looks like the most, stereotypical trucker. He almost looks like Peter Griffin, honestly. But yeah, this guy right here, Big Bubba, I'll dub him. He looks like a trucker.
terminals were easier to unionize.
The whole industry was
Yeah,
unionized
there it is. There's the magic word.
and regulated under the National Master Freight Agreement,
Yep.
negotiated by the Teamsters, which was one of the most powerful unions in the United States. That all ended when Jimmy Carter signed the Motor Carrier Act of 1980 in an
Fucking
effort to
Jimmy
lower prices
Carter.
for consumers. This was a bipartisan effort.
You probably don't think of truckers as timid people, but that's because you haven't seen how some of them react when you say competition.
Ooh.
Republicans, Democrats, and industry were all involved. And in
Wow.
a way, deregulation worked. Prices went down for consumers and rates went down for shippers. And it opened up competition so that the larger stores, think Walmart, Kmart, Costco, could haggle for lower prices.
Oh,
Remember-
this is how we got. So this is where it really shows you the reality of things, right? A big thing people like to say is nothing is free in this world. And for the most part, that's pretty much true. This is where you might think you're getting a good deal on something, right? Obviously not an Apple product, because if it's an Apple product, it's going to cost a shit ton of money, even if it costs like cents to make. But this is where usually, if you have something like Kmart, Walmart, stuff like that, where you're getting stuff for really cheap, it's probably at the expense of something else. Which, in this case, I guess it's the deregulation of the trucking industry. Partly.
Remember that under regulation, the government set shipping prices for all stores, big and small. So deregulation brought us the world of cheap shipping that we live in now.
Wow.
What that
Amazon.
meant for truck drivers was a lot of really bad jobs.
Thousands of smaller trucking companies went out of business in the 1980s, and something
Wow.
else changed that made the job harder. Freight started moving point to point, from the shipper's location all the way to the customer.
Ooh, that means the truckers can't go home.
For drivers, that means that, they're living out of the truck. They're essentially working 24 hours a day,
That is depressing. That better be with overtime.
and they can't know exactly when they're going to be home.
And the thing is, truckers don't make overtime.
Huh?
That's right. Truckers are one of the few workers
Are they salaried?
that are exempt from overtime in our labor laws.
Bruh.
So a trucker can be working 100 hours a week and not make close to minimum wage. All of these changes have created a labor crisis.
You know what is so sad about this? This is where I really, really don't understand something. There are jobs, right? And I'll kind of bring it back to McDonald's, because I always like to bring this example of these things here with McDonald's, as I've mentioned before. There are jobs that are required, they are necessary, they are crucial, and as we learned in COVID, as they coined it in COVID times, they are essential. Why are we paying the people that are doing essential things, needed things, the worst? Like at this point, right? I'm looking at the comments a little bit here. They're saying there's a trucker shortage, which I've actually heard that. I heard there's a trucker shortage, but I thought that's because they just need more because things are opening back up from COVID. Maybe, now I'm thinking I was wrong. It sounds like there's a trucker shortage because, like with all the shortages, it's not a shortage of people wanting to work. It's a shortage of the companies not paying properly. Crazy. Bro, this is so fun. Like, at this point, you need truckers, but you're going to treat them like shit. You're going to pay them like shit, where what's the whole point? You're going to be spending, 100 hours a week plus to do your job for essentially nothing? You're essentially signing up to be a slave. Like, that's honestly what it is. You're signing up to be a slave and be miserable for something that's needed. Like, huh? This is where, this is the dark dimension, man. This is shit.
The turnover rate at most companies is now well over 100%.
What?
That's why every year the American Trucking Association claims there's a driver shortage.
80,000 drivers short amid the supply chain crisis.
This historic trucker shortage again.
And in less than a decade, it's projected to get even worse.
Wow.
Billy is 71 years old, and the average driver
How
is
is he
48
not
years old.
retired yet?
The industry needs younger drivers to enter the business and stay. Like
We're
Caleb
already in
Fernandez.
debt.
Unlike Billy, he's a company driver, and he's paid by the mile. He also uses the company's truck. While Caleb doesn't have the same expenses as Billy, he has to worry about something else.
What?
Surveillance.
Oh,
The biggest problem
quota.
solving that I do in my day is working so that I can be legal in the regulations.
In 2017, the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration introduced electronic logging devices.
Oh, God.
So I've got 6 hours left that I can work.
Bruh. This is so dystopian. Not as dystopian as my job, because they track everything. They track productivity. This is where, I think I've said this before too, as usual, but this is where there's a plus and a minus to tracking and measuring productivity, or just surveilling your employees in general. Number one, it's sort of a safety net for the employee. So if they ever try and ding you saying, oh, you weren't doing work, oh, well, you guys were tracking me, I was. But then it comes at the expense of the employee. You get less choice in what you do. It just feels bad. Like no one really wants to be looked at when they're doing their job. This is where, for me, it actually backfires. If I'm looked at, I'm going to do worse, and then I'm going to resent it. And I'm actively going to do things to fight back. Whereas if you didn't look at me, this is where I know not everyone operates this way. I'm a little different here. But this is where if you don't look at me, I'll actually do a better job because I'm more relaxed. It's almost like catering to your employees is good. Unlike the millionaire fucking CEO that I mentioned, where he thinks employees should get on their hands and knees and kiss the feet of the fucking owners, This is where if you do stuff for the employees, they'll do stuff for you as well. I would think, and from what I've seen. But this is so fucking dystopian and draconian, where like they track everything. Let's see how bad this one is.
Until tomorrow.
These logs are meant to keep the drivers from working too long and
Wait, that's good.
to make sure they take breaks.
Oh, look at this cat!
But what it really does is mess with trucker autonomy.
It tracks my location and knows if I've been moving the truck around, so I can't lie and say that I've been driving less hours than I have been. So it lets.
So this is where I'm questioning something. I'm questioning it, like, it sounds like it's the opposite, where they want to drive more, but they're not allowed to. I'm confused here, because usually it's the opposite. Usually when they track you, you want to do less, you want to slack off. And when they track you, they want to extract more from you. But it seems like here it's somewhat of the opposite.
Lets you know on the e-log if you're doing something illegal. It'll warn you, hey, wait a minute.
Drivers start the clock and have 14 hours to work before they have to take a 10-hour rest.
Oh my god.
During that shift, they can only drive for 11 hours and take 3 hours for stops or deliveries. The problem is, they might get stuck waiting on a load, or they might break down, or they might need to take a long nap.
A long nap. This is where I laugh, but it's actually serious. They probably need that shit.
The clock keeps running.
A lot of shippers and receivers will.
This is where there's always this disconnect from the people who are tracking you to the people actually doing the job. This is where so many times in so many different industries, I feel like this is one of the biggest issues. Someone is managing you, someone is above you who has no clue the work you do, how you do it, how it's supposed to be done, or anything. This is where too many times a person is above you who has never done your job. And if that's the case, they are going to be, in my opinion, a terrible fucking boss. There's no way they're going to be a good boss, or at least chances are they're not. Maybe there's cases where they are like open-minded and stuff and they're open, but the people who are making these rules definitely aren't. And these rules are becoming more and more widespread. I actually saw this fucking really sick dystopian shit recently, and I'm gonna spoil this again because we're gonna see this in the future, of AI being used to track employees. Now granted, they said, oh yeah, this is just a test, it's not real. Yeah, they should have said it's not real yet. They literally track your productivity through a camera with AI telling you, like, you know, what your name is, how long you're doing something, how long you're wearing your face mask, how much you've produced of X thing. It's actually fucking very scary. All of you, like, you know, lazy people, and I don't say lazy as an insult, because what's the whole purpose of technology? The whole purpose of technology is to make our lives easier, not to make us work harder for more to get less. So, you know, I'm alright with people being lazy, especially in the place in society we're at, where, you know, we already have good productivity, it's just, it's not being spread around. But, yeah, this shit's scary.
Be unreliable in terms of their appointment times. And so then that can ruin my hours of service. It can also ruin my next pickup or drop. It can be pretty stressful as well.
And because a lot of drivers like Caleb are paid by the mile, they want to keep moving.
It forces drivers to drive in dangerous conditions and when they're tired.
Yep.
Truckers have been keeping logs for decades, but before they were paper logs. And the fact is, those were easier to fake. And look, we're not advocating for cheating. These safety regulations are really important. No one wants drivers on the road that have been working for too long or who are tired. The problem is, these e-logs are really restrictive, and drivers can't make their own schedule. The laws as they're written are really hard to follow.
Very restrictive.
And besides, e-logs aren't actually making the roads safer. A 2019 study showed that since the e-logs were introduced, accidents didn't go down.
Nice! This is where I guarantee you, if you do a study of like time tracking software and stuff, you're gonna see, in a way, it's gonna lower productivity because people need to watch over their shoulder. People are always gonna find ways to fake the system. It's like ad blocker. Ad blockers are always gonna find a workaround eventually to whatever like fix YouTube or whatever has, right? It's just gonna take time. This is where, even in my job, I know of people who know what to write in the system to kind of keep the freaking, you know, to keep the managers off their back. So there is ways to get around it. You just have to be more creative. And that's what ends up happening. Because there's probably very little people who actually want to work the full time. Because most people hate their jobs because jobs suck. Especially now sub, because you're getting pretty much nothing out of it except misery. So it's like, who the fuck wants to work now? It's not that people don't want to work. People don't want to work for nothing. But, you know, they're getting peanuts. So it's just stupid how these things are here for a certain goal, and it's not even doing the goal. It's just making things worse for the most part. There's gonna be people where they are massive. You know, you have to question. You have to question: are these results accurate? Because I can guarantee you, for office jobs where they track your time, it's not. Because they're gonna try and find ways to go around the system. Maybe you can squeeze some more productivity out of them if the system is really like observant or really strict, but even then, it's coming at the cost of employee retention, employee loyalty. Because then people aren't going to want to deal with that. They're going to want to leave to someplace that doesn't track them. Because if you're tracking them, you're probably already breathing down their neck and they won't like that. It's ridiculous.
They stayed about the same. But
Lovely.
something else went up. Drivers were speeding more to make up for lost time on the
So this thing not only didn't help, it made things worse.
road.
We've put them in this, trade-off between, their paycheck and safety, unfortunately.
Bruh.
Billy thinks that one way to encourage safe driving is to increase pay. Then drivers...
No fucking duh. The main solution to most of these problems, and it is a doable solution. The only problem with it being doable is the people who can do it don't want to. Not that they can't, they don't want to because they want to make their $10 billion instead of $9 billion.
aren't as worried about racing for the next load and the next paycheck.
We want to be paid.
I got that big bus just zoomed around him. That's so funny.
All hours worked, all hours paid. We're sitting loading and unloading for more than 30 minutes at a given facility. We want to be paid for it.
And you should be paid for it. Anything you are forced to do that is not your choice, that if you walk away, you will get in trouble for, you should be fucking compensated for. What the fuck is this bullshit? Like, oh, you have to do this, but I'm not going to pay you. Okay, well, if you're not paying me, then I'm not doing it. Fuck off. I say that, but I'm like the biggest bitch ever in my job. But this is what the mentality should be and that people should adopt. Don't follow my example. Don't do as I do. Do as I say.
Billy and Caleb both love what they do and want to stay in the industry. We started this video looking at why trucking used to be a good job and why it isn't anymore.
Wow.
Deregulation made a lot of products cheap, really cheap, but at a serious cost to workers. Like Billy said, nothing moves in this country without truckers, and
Or trains.
they should get paid for all the time they're working.
Yes. Shouldn't that be something that's just standard? If you're working, you're getting paid.
There's a bill right now that would change the Fair Labor Standards Act and make truckers eligible for overtime.
Oh my
Second,
God.
safety regulations need to give drivers more flexibility. Truckers can track their time and take breaks without such strict oversight. And Billy thinks that ultimately the job won't get any better unless drivers themselves take action.
Unless they strike and unionize.
It wasn't like this when we were
Power to the workers. Power to the people. Fuck the rich.
organized. And we're the only ones that can change it. Owner-operators and company drivers. When we organize, then things will change.
And that's a pure fact. This is the sad part where a lot of people in America, and I've said this before, as I've said 95% of my shit, this is where most people have become passive. And, me being a media student, or graduate, sorry, me being a media expert in my field, I can honestly say I feel like the media has played a role in making America so, spreadable, where you could just ram them in the fucking ass. You could ramshackle them so much. I honestly feel as if slowly but surely, because I used to study how they used to manipulate us in the 40s and 50s, in the 1940s, 1950s and stuff, 1930s, right? Excuse me. Back then they were figuring it out and they were finding results. It's almost 100 years later. You think they're not gonna have this shit down to a science? They already do. It's so sad. It's so sad that this is the dark dimension. But I'm opening up people's eyes to it. But wow, this is depressing. Wow. Maybe truck driving isn't that good. I can't believe this video took us 30 minutes. As long, with the intro too. But wow, what a great video. I didn't think I was going to watch the whole thing, but damn, that was good. I'm actually shocked that trucking is not like a gold standard thing anymore, because that's definitely how it was portrayed to me by others. This is actually wild. I mean, it's still probably pretty good depending, but everything has its problems, but the question is how many? My job has its problems, trucking has its problems. Both trucking and my job probably have a lot more problems than other places, because these things fucking are sucking. Maybe not trucking as much, but Wow, these things are sucking. Yeah, amazing video. Holy shit. Very dark dimension. Very, very depressing. Wow.
I was hanging out with my friend and he started vomiting, which is obviously a little bit alarming. Yeah. So we were like, 911, hey girl, like come over.
Let me take a guess what they're gonna say here. They called the ambulance. The guy said, I don't want to take the ambulance. I can't afford it.
And they were just like, hey, bud, I'm going to be honest with you. You should probably call an Uber because the ambulance ride is going to be $3,000. Yeah. No.
Wow.
Oh, that is
with insurance.
And it's true.
That is so crazy. I've actually had a lot of friends experience the literal exact same thing.
I just don't.
It would be better to call a taxi than to get an ambulance to get help. Because people can't afford it. That's fucking nightmarish. What the fuck? This is actually from Good Morning Bad News, which I'm shocked at, because usually they're very, it's the guy yelling and it's very charged and very manipulative in a way, like I've said before. But, this is something they have completely right. The healthcare in our country is one of the worst healthcares ever. It's actually so sad. It's so disgusting. It's only good if you're rich.
Don't understand
or know how to manipulate the system and be poor.
And how older generations look at things like this, like, okay, they can't afford homes, they're in crippling debt for their entire lives.
This is where the country, and I've said this before, is literally going towards we are going to be normalized with that. We are going to be born already owing something to someone, and we're gonna just go our lives thinking it's normal, which is gonna be very scary because these rich people are going to make so much money if that's the case. It's actually going to be tragic.
They would rather Uber than take an ambulance when they need immediate medical attention, but it's probably the Starbucks coffee, honestly.
I know.
I hate when they say that shit, like, oh, you guys need to cut more shit out. Let me tell you this, right? Let me tell you this. I live like a fucking gremlin. I will tell people my day, and I've pretty much said it before. I barely buy anything at the market. I only buy things on sale. In my day, I will skip breakfast. I will for lunch eat an apple that I only buy on sale for about $1.50 a pound. So for a week it costs me like what, maybe $3-4 to have lunch for the whole week. So I will eat a shitty apple, wait to get home, eat dinner, and that's it. I will not buy anything else. Like, what more can I cut out? The only other thing I buy that's maybe you can argue is I buy $1.50 fries for like from McDonald's, but every week because that's a deal. But like, can I not even treat myself like that? Like, it's crazy.
Like, maybe if they just saved
This is where the older people are so fucking stupid.
Extra $5 a week.
But if you look at the facts right now, we are
$5 a week is going to get eaten by inflation.
Working more hours for less money than literally any other generation. So I'm like, actually don't say that.
Oh, 100%. Like, we are far more productive than previous generations.
To be fair, we also have better technology than any generation, but that's how it's going to be at almost any time after us.
We are more employed. We are more educated than previous generations.
And we make the least.
And that's not computing.
And to that point,
that's the thing I always mention too. I always mention the fact that, we can produce more, we make more, we're smarter, we're more educated, we have everything better, but things are the worst for us. Why? Because of fucking greedy fucking billionaires and the government.
Point to be called lazy by the generation whose entire goal is
and who got everything easily
to make passive income off being landlords
on us.
Rental properties. Why are they entitled to income that nobody else is entitled to? I can't with that.
Well,
because they got lucky.
And that's the thing too, especially because these older generations hoard so much.
I really like how they show their sources. That's one thing I'll always give Good Morning Bad News. They cite their sources.
Much wealth they're able to do.
Now, whether people actually look into it, because the memory that's burned into my mind is one time we saw the wedding lady, the lady who made wedding websites. She accused like a gay couple of trying to use her site or whatever. And when they looked into it, even with the source being there, one person finally decided to look into it. And these people weren't gay. And this whole thing was like fake. Well, not fake, but they basically lied about it. And the guy who was in question being called gay, just imagine you get that call. Hey, did you try to make a gay, wedding request on a website? No, I have a wife and kids. Like, what the fuck are you going to think at that point? But this is where, like, even if the source is there, people might just take that as enough and not look into it. you know, it's kind of hypocritical for me to say like, okay, there's a source there, cool. I don't vet things either, but I'm a content creator. I have very little time. I'm poor. You know, I can't do this shit. I'm lazy. I'm poor. You know, fight me.
Things like in the middle of an economic crisis, they can just go buy a home and make some extra money. So
Yeah.
we'll exit these economic crises, and they will be better off, and then we'll still be struggling.
No, I feel like that was the darkest part of the pandemic.
I feel like we're here literally is just like their punching bag for money. The older generation are going to make fun of us, but they're also going to profit off of us, and they're going to keep us forever in our positions just so they could keep profiting off of us.
For me, it's just realizing how much additional wealth the billionaires and everybody who was like the ultra wealthy were making.
Yeah, and they continue to make every year. They break their records and have money we can't even imagine or fathom in multiple lifetimes. When you say it out loud, I hope like your blood boils, because mine does. Because this shit gets me pissed off. It's one thing to know things can't be a certain way because it's impossible, we're just not there yet. And it's another thing to know things are a certain way because people just don't want to change it, but it can be changed. It's fucking infuriating.
Well, everybody else was like suffering and quite literally dying. Home ownership alone gives me so much anxiety. I feel like I accepted long ago that I'll probably never own a home. And like that actually kind of freaks me out. Like it's really hard to think about. My parents like bought this house. We've lived in our house for 30 years. They bought it like back in the 90s.
No, I feel like, especially when we were kids growing up, like a big marker of success was like, oh, buying my first home at like probably like late
starter
20s.
homes.
And this is in capitalism where your success is factored into what can you buy. It's very fucking like, oh my god, it just destroys people where nowadays a lot of people can't buy things, but in capitalism, if you can't buy things, you feel like a failure.
Yeah.
It's depressing.
And now I feel like the marker of success is like, I can actually afford rent by myself.
Yeah.
I'm not sharing a bedroom or
Whoa.
sharing an apartment.
Which I cannot do.
Like my mid-20s, which is so crazy.
And it's so weird what that does to you psychologically. Like,
I feel like when I was younger, I used to like tell my mom like, I'm never having kids because I just wanted to be like that girl, you know?
Now you can have kids because you can't afford it. And what's that going to do for the future of the economy and our race? Who knows?
But now,
Can't be good.
I'm like, I can't have kids. I'm not going to be able to have a house.
It's sad too because like, you know, not to get too sexual here, but these are very pretty women.
I feel like I won't be able to support myself and like a family. My friend just got a dog and it's
And that's where the common joke, but it's not even much of a joke either, is my generation, our kids are our pets. That's our kids. Because that's like the only alternative we really have.
Stresses me out thinking about the cost. I'm like, what if she has to go to the vet?
Yeah.
Imagine having like a whole human being. Yeah.
So we can really only speak to our own personal experiences on these issues, and so we wanted to contextualize this with the perspective of somebody who grew up witnessing the best time for economic mobility in the United States, if you're a white man. And
Hey, that's me.
that is former Secretary of Labor
and Gen Z icon
Robert Reich.
Hey, Robert Reich, let's fucking go!
Well, I have to turn my head back to the 20th century.
I really, really hope it never comes out. When I say that, it implies that it's there to begin with, but I really hope we don't find out that Robert Reich is just doing this all for show. I'm pretty sure Robert Reich is well off. He literally worked in the in the Treasury, right? Was he the Treasury Secretary? I forgot, but he worked in our government in finance, which means he was probably making good bank. But this is where, like, obviously I think he's okay. I really hope it's not a situation where, like, he's just appealing to what people want to hear, just to, I guess, feel good or be a champion of the people, without making much change, which I don't believe is the case, but it still is a possibility where, they're just doing it for the looks, they're not really helping, which will be very, very saddening to me. But I feel like Robert Reich, what more can he really do? Because he's kind of, pretty old. But it's like, how do you fight a system that's so strong, has so many people, and if you try and fight it, they don't have to play by the rules to fuck with you. Like, oh my god, everything is just wrong, man. This shit's fucked up. Anyway, I love Robert Reich. This is a really good video, too. Let's go next.
Someone please debunk me. You can actually evict the Maui wildfire survivors? Like, tell me you're joking.
So, this was on the 17th, right? This is where, at that time, there was a volcano in Hawaii. And I don't remember too much from there because I don't watch the news. This is the closest I'm getting to watching the news, so let's see.
Do not give up, Maui. Do not let them take your land.
This looks so sad. I hate seeing people cry, because if I start seeing people cry, I might start crying. Like, oh my god, I hate this.
Just now on TikTok, they are giving eviction notices to people whose houses didn't burn down.
No fucking way. Like, I wasn't in the conspiracy camp where, like, space lasers caused the
Hey, we know that guy in the background. We've reacted to his stuff before.
Hawaiian wildfires on purpose, but I sure shit knew BlackRock, Vanguard, and other bankers weren't going to give up a fire sale. So, like, before I freak out and, like, start sharpening the guillotines, like, maybe this is just a one-off, right?
This Lahaina shit is insane. I have a friend who lost his home. He lost everything, but this isn't for him. This is somebody else by him. They didn't lose their home, but they're about to, because the mayor is evicting the entire fucking building.
Wait, why?
Some of the only people that still had homes, and they're evicting them. They have 45 days. Pause to read.
I wish I didn't fucking pause to read. You mean to tell me that if the sus wildfire didn't make me homeless, the government is now going to, even though I had a home to go back to? And like, does the excuse even make sense to anyone? It's like, you have no press release on how you're gonna rehabilitate the area, but you will hand me an eviction notice and tell me I have 45 days to get out, but like...
This literally doesn't make sense. Why are they doing this? I mean, obviously, I'm trying to take into the context that this video is maybe biased, you know? Maybe it's not showing the full context of the other side why they're doing this. Because, like, there's no way it could be this evil. There's no way.
Like, I'll get my deposit back, just don't be late on rent. Like, you haven't even talked to FEMA on how you're gonna rehouse everybody that is actually homeless. Like, we're supposed to believe you now?
These are the last people on this island in this little area that have a home still, and they're kicking them out of it. I hope this is the straw that breaks the camel's back.
You know how many times I've hoped that?
Let me make sure I understand everything about this godforsaken timeline so I'm not overreacting. You mean to tell me that a sus wildfire wiped out all the...
He says sus wildfire because I guess there's like... You know, I hate saying conspiracy because it's a word that has a lot of negative connotations. But it seems very conspiracy theorist where like, did someone start this shit? I really know nothing about this situation.
The homes of all the locals living in an area that's coincidentally the most valuable in all of Maui, and the insurance companies won't cover the majority of the damages, but
fuck insurance.
Also coincidentally, all the rich bankers and real estate developers are willing to buy the land for cheap. Like, they won't give you full price because the building's missing, but they'll give you more than what it's worth now. And like, this is all legal. Like, this shit's okay.
Why is it legal? Because the rich people make it legal.
Like if I just blow all my money on like guillotines and like Kevlar and rounds, like is this like, I don't know, like...
You can't say that, that's dangerous, you can't say that.
Hey, conservatives, there's your fucking time to shine. Second Amendment, tell us what it's for, man. I don't fucking know. Am I overreacting? Somebody please debunk me, like this cannot be legal. This side note, if somebody has a 501c in Lahaina ready to go, like, I'll tell you exactly what to fucking do to fight fire with fire. Like don't give some stupid random ass Asian TikTok or anything. Just, I can't, they can't. How is this possible?
This sounds so crazy. Also, hold on, let me turn on the music. Is the music even playing? It is. Okay, that's weird. Anyway, yeah. Wow. I guess BlackRock and stuff is going for Hawaii now, too. They want to own that now, too. Well, BlackRock is going to own what they want because they have the money to do anything, I believe. Anyway, pretty depressing video, but pretty good. It's good that it's depressing because hopefully it opens people's eyes. Let's go next.
Yes, this is real and the deadliest parasite.
What the fuck is that thing? I thought that was a fucking pearl in like an oyster or something.
And bacteria known to science has infected the US. Scientists were terrified after a flesh-eating bacteria has already...
What the fuck?
...taken the lives of several people in the US. Several people have gotten terrifying symptoms like diarrhea, stomach cramps, vomiting, and fever.
That doesn't sound too bad, it just sounds like you're sick.
And when people start to notice the symptoms, it might already be too late for them. Bacteria enters your digestive tract, and for many cases, people would die within just a day or two after. Many will require limb amputation to stop the spread of the bacteria, and a shocking 20% of people who have it will face a terrifying end. It's reported in just New York there have already been 3 deaths.
Of course. Of course.
And according to the New York Health Commissioner, this is a rising concern.
Bruh.
Known as Vibrio vulnificus, one man contracted this after swimming at the beach and another after just eating raw oysters.
Wow.
Many health officials have advised against eating raw oysters this summer or in general, and even things
in general. This summer too, but in general you shouldn't do it, and this summer you shouldn't do it.
like hot sauce, alcohol, and lemons will not kill this bacteria. The bacteria can also enter your body when swimming in fresh water. So please avoid that, and please be super careful.
Okay. What the fuck is going on? A flesh-eating bacteria that kills you sometimes within a day? This shit sounds fake. Like, what? Oh my god. Dude, I feel like nature's fighting back. I feel like nature's had enough of us, and it's like you've like fucked the planet for too long. You've made so much pollution, like so much like destroying of the environment. This is what we're gonna fight you with the one of many. This is fucking scary. But yeah, of course it's New York. Let's go next.
Why do you need a $54 million private jet?
We're not doing any kind of interviews right now. I'm in the book.
I'd just like to know why you need a keep your hands off me. Why are your people touching me like this?
Because you
let go of me.
She's gone. Boom. I can hear her hollering.
Oh god. Okay, so I just read the caption. Preacher uses church donations to buy himself a 54 million private jet. This is where these people, let me just say this. If I was the leader, these people would not be around walking in the daylight anymore. I'm not saying I'll kill them, but bro, these are some of the most evil people I've ever seen. They use religion to like get what the religion preaches against, which is greed and avarice. Bro, these people will literally profit off of this shit so badly, and the people they're profiting off of, it's so sad because they don't see it. They're like blind followers of the faith, which he's taking advantage of. And the worst part is, look at this asswipe. This guy, I mean, obviously she sprung the question on him to try and like catch him, but he's obviously not going to answer. It's the same thing in Congress. They're never going to give you the answer that's true. But here he is making fun of her to his blind followers.
And I came back and said, what'd you do with her? He said, I made her outside edition.
This joke. Yeah, look at them laughing. Those are the people who are giving him money thinking they're going to get to heaven while he buys like, private jets that ruin the environment. Making like, hell on earth. Ironic.
There's millionaire prosperity gospel preacher Jesse Duplantis. This humble preacher is worth an estimated $50 million.
Bruh.
He lives in a 32...
Oh yeah, that definitely looks totally not bougie.
2,000 square foot home that is completely tax exempt due to the house being owned by his own ministry, Jesse Duplantis Ministries.
Wow, he named it after himself.
These preachers sure are creative with their names, huh? Now, if you watch...
I like how the thing just said Jesus is Lord. Yeah, you know what else is Lord? Money.
Watch my video on Kenneth Copeland, you would know that these guys have what is essentially a get out of tax free card due to them owning churches.
Crazy.
So essentially they can register all of their assets under the church's name and have them be completely exempt from having to pay any taxes on.
Just remember, the church also said, if you like us on Facebook, you'll get into heaven. Oh, where has religion gone?
But Duplantis one-ups Copeland in the private jet department, owning 3 different private jets compared to Copeland's measly 2.
Wow. This is where all that it becomes when you're this rich is just trying to one-up other rich people. They're so vain.
And a common theme that you see with these preachers is that they defend their private jets by saying that they need the jets because they can't preach to as many people flying commercial.
Uh-huh. Really now? Yeah, they don't want to be amongst the peons that they preach to, that they steal from.
The flight records show that since 2006, Duplantis has logged 19 flights to Hawaii and 15 flights to Las Vegas.
Oh.
Because religion is one of the staples of the city.
Yeah, gambling. I'm pretty sure they preach that in religion.
Sin, as you know. So it's good to see that he's preaching there.
Bruh.
But in my opinion, the scummiest thing that he has done in his career was asking his followers for donations so that he could get a brand new $54 million Falcon 7X jet.
Yeah, because the first 2 weren't enough. Like, are you serious? Yo, life getting me pissed off, man.
He argues that he needs the jet so that he can fly anywhere in the world without stopping to spread the word of God.
But if you're stopping, you could spread the word of God there. This isn't fucking stopping, this is lying. This guy needs to fucking eat shit.
And he justified this expensive request by saying this.
It's for the Lord.
I really believe that if Jesus was physically on the earth today, he wouldn't be riding a donkey.
Now think about
Yeah, he would.
how many people you can feed with $54 million. Think of the lives that can be saved with $54 million. And while all of his devout followers struggle to be financially stable, they can sleep easy knowing that their hard-earned money that they donated to the church was used to buy Jesse his 4th jet.
Bro.
Why?
This is disgusting. I hate fucking people like this. These people, if you look at where they live, and they live in not a normal house, they live in a mansion or anything, these people need to get dealt with. Like, this is so ridiculous. They need to get dealt with in a non-violent way. Like, holy fuck. Oh my god. And the worst part is there's exceptions because it's religious, according to, like, the law and stuff. It's so slimy, it's so gross. But that's society, that's the dark dimension. Very good video, let's go next. Oh. So this is actually pretty accurate. You know, it says Congress, you know, for those of you hard of seeing, Congress zooted on dementia meds voting on your future. You know, I like to include funny TikToks in here. This is a funny one. It's a very true one, but it's still funny. This is where, again, ever since I heard Jeff Jackson say, like, oh, on his orientation, they told him, do you need help turning on the computer? That should be a telltale sign something is wrong. Especially when some of this, like, you know, some of the stuff they're deciding has to do with future technology and stuff that, again, they don't know how to turn on a computer. They're deciding, like, future technological stuff and inside stock trading. But yeah, this is crazy. Too many people in Congress are too old. Once it gets cleared out, I really hope, whenever that is, the next generation that comes in isn't as bad as them. And there's no way they can be unless, you know, this is the dark dimension, so maybe they could. But yeah, this one's pretty funny. We'll hear it one more time just because I like the music. Like, this is so funny. The comment here is kind of proving what I'm saying, though. Sadly, that is the reality we are accepting. And, you know, as the person right after them says, how unfortunately true, it is the truth. We are accepting it. Whether it's fully our fault or not, I don't think it's fully our fault because we are being manipulated, but, like, bruh, we let this happen. If you let the weasel in, whose fault is it that it's eating your food? You're the one who let it in. Anyway, let's go next.
And I vote yes. The motion passes by a vote of 5 to 4.
Okay, so for those of you who don't remember, we reviewed this in a previous video. Not this one specifically, but the predecessor to this, where people were saying, oh, vote against raising the rent, vote against, you know, destabilizing the rent, vote to lower the rent, as if that was ever going to get passed. They wanted rent to just not increase. They wanted it to go lower, but it wasn't going to go lower. But let's see now how much sway the people have, because as we've seen in the past, the people really don't have sway on how things are voted. The lobbyists do. So let's see what happened.
Well, it's official. Millions of New Yorkers living in rent-stabilized apartments will have to dish out more money each month after the Rent Guidelines Board pushed through controversial increases in a 5-4 vote.
Lovely. Because again, God forbid they make $9 billion, they need $10 billion.
You could barely hear the outcome of that vote over the voices of disgruntled tenants.
This is where I'm surprised the people who are doing the vote aren't scared for their lives. Once people in society, like, have had enough, or, like, you know, break the, you know, it's the string, or whatever it's called, the needle that breaks the camel's back, at that point, these people better be fucking scared.
Chanting.
Like, already rent is already too high. Holy shit. No way. Do you guys know where this is? This is in Hunter College. I literally sat in this auditorium for my classes. Oh shit. Yeah, this is legit Hunter College. Not only did I work here, I went to school here, and I literally sat in here for one of my classes, which was psychology. Wow.
Cowbells in the audience.
That's Hunter College.
They don't care about human rights.
They don't. This lady is completely true. And people know it.
They don't care. They think they're talking to dogs, trees, and rubbish. They're not concerned about us.
Yeah, because they view us like rubbish.
In the end, the board voted to raise rents on 1-year leases by 3%. On 2-year leases, rents will go up by 2.75% in the first year and 3.2% in the second year,
Bruh.
which averages out to a 4.4% increase over the course of 2 years.
Amazing. Amazing. Bro. What the fuck? Like, it doesn't sound like a lot because we're dealing with low percentages, but bro, people already can't afford this shit because everything else is so expensive.
Mayor Adams issued this statement following the vote.
Look at this fucker.
I want to thank the members of the Rent Guidelines Board for their critically important and extremely difficult work protecting tenants from unsustainable rent increases.
Yeah, so we're gonna do an unsustainable rent increase,
while also ensuring small property owners have the necessary resources to maintain their buildings.
This is where I don't know essentially about the property owners either, because property owners in New York get fucked too. This is where everyone likes to demonize property owners, but the property owners should have it just as bad. By renting out to you, they need to, you know, have all these things in place, insurance and stuff, and they need to pay for things too, you know, property taxes through the fucking roof in New York. So what are they supposed to do? This is where you have to go to the source of the problem, which is the people who are making the cost of all these things what they are, which is the government.
And preserve high-quality, affordable homes for New
Yeah, bullshit, high quality, bullshit, affordable.
Yorkers. Tenants still coping with fallout from the pandemic plus inflation would beg to differ.
Yep.
The cities in the state right now where people
Bro, this is literally in Hunter College. I can't believe this. I recognize this auditorium.
cannot afford to pay their bills.
We need to keep organizing as tenants. We need to keep on fighting to make sure that we have a New York that can actually support working families.
Hell no. Why would we have that when the billionaires can keep squeezing the rats that are trapped here?
Last year, they dealt with a 3.25% increase on 1-year leases.
Yeah, and then guess what? You know what else is going to increase? The MTA fare like it just did, food prices, housing prices. We're going to have debts on our loans. We're going to have debts on our freaking mortgages. Like, we're going to have debts with everything. We're literally just going to become normalizing living with debt.
A 5% increase on 2-year leases.
Bro.
That was the highest hike for rent-stabilized apartments in nearly a decade.
Amazing.
But landlords say they desperately need this money to combat rising property taxes
and they're not wrong. This is where we can't demonize the fucking property owners. Or maybe we could, because sometimes they're greedy fuckers. Not saying they're not sometimes. But bro, the biggest issue that will solve most of the problems if we go after them is the person at the top. When you go for the fucking mafia, you're not gonna go for the low-time gangster or, you know, or like young boss. You're gonna go for the Don. No relation to Donald Trump.
Insurance, building repairs, and other hefty costs across the board.
Crazy.
Michael Tobman of the Rent Stabilization Association calling the whole process a broken system.
Yup. So many broken systems.
We're going to do this, and we're going to continue to make our case to the Rent Guidelines Board
Yeah, make your case and have them keep rejecting it because they don't care.
every year, and in Albany and in City Hall until this process is reformed to the benefit of owners and tenants alike.
Yeah, and you're gonna be doing it forever then. You know, I root for you. I praise you for doing what you're doing, but God, you're fighting in a near unwinnable battle. It's so sad. Anyway, let's look at the comments here. Eric Adams' political career is over. Well, that's not true because he's still around. As if New York isn't expensive enough. God, how true that is. All of the people in New York need to come together and not pay a dime. They can't arrest every single person. That's true, but a lot of people will just roll over and take it because they need to eat or they just don't care. The best one is the last one here. This one's fucked up though. Adams should have been on that submarine alone. At least he's making it good where he's like, okay, only Adams should have been sacrificed. Man, some people hate Eric Adams. This shit's crazy. Anyway, really sad video. Obviously hitting close to home. Pretty depressing that prices are still going up despite no one affording it. And this is where I always bring in the example. They can keep raising it as long as the rich can foot the bill, which they obviously can. And it just becomes a big circle jerk of, oh, who owns more? It's so stupid. Anyway, let's go next.
I am so tired of feeling helpless as a parent.
Oh god, this is
Yes,
7
my
minutes.
kids.
This is a classic video. If you haven't seen it, go peep it, right? I'm going to
We
explain
ain't
to you
gonna
why
see
the
it.
American economic system is completely collapsing.
Let's
I
see
have
why.
studied economics. I'm not a stupid fucking person. So the biggest problem with Americans is that, like, the American dream is that you can be rich, you can be a millionaire, you can
Instead
be...
of it really is the American dream, because that's all it is. It's a dream. It's not going to be the reality.
McRailroad, whatever, the Vanderbilts, who this, that, and the other, Jeff Bezos. But, like, I'm telling you, you is not going to be...
Okay, the only thing I find really weird about this guy so far is why are his glasses so oversized? It's like I almost can't take him seriously because they're so big.
Jeff Bezos, you are a manager at Best Buy and you drive a C-Class Mercedes-Benz.
Yeah, I'd be lucky if I drive anything.
Humble yourself and have class solidarity.
Crazy.
There's no such thing as an ethical billionaire.
Bro.
Because capital is created by the excess of value in a product, i.e. the exploitation of labor at the behest of workers.
By definition, it is true, but it sounds worse than it should be, I think.
Those were a lot of big fucking words. Jeff Bezos makes $2,000 within a second.
Ridiculous.
His take-home money...
That's like about as much as I make in a month.
...is around $200 million. His employees barely make $3,000 a month. Let's think about that.
That's
because
ridiculous.
Capital is the excess extraction of value via labor.
It's where it
You
pays
turn
to
a
be a
profit
boss.
when you are making more than your cost in labor, materials, etc., etc. The 70s and 80s regarded as this wonderful period of American economic prosperity. It is because the literal Antichrist has not taken presidential office yet. Reagan introduces this thing called trickle-down economics.
I've heard so many bad things with Reagan for the economy. It's like, what did this guy do?
Trickle-down economics is a bunch of lies and bullshits that take away safety guards.
Hey, why don't we give everything to the rich people and hope they spread it around? Because they didn't totally become rich by hoarding it and being greedy. So let's just assume they're going to do the opposite if we incentivize them to. By giving them more money.
From the American working class, as well as giving a bunch of tax breaks and incentives to the rich and the upper class. Because he got the American public to vote for this under the guise that it would trickle down, right? But it did not fucking trickle down. It just stayed up. This is why the hoarding of excess wealth began. So the credit system comes into play, as well as the mall and things like forced obsolescence, which is essentially saying that Americans stop making better products, well-constructed products, because they realize
they want you to buy more stuff. Because if the stuff is made well, you're not going to buy a new one for a long time. But if the stuff breaks down after like a year or so, you're going to need a new one.
That, hey, if our jacket lasts a lifetime, people aren't going to buy a lot of jackets and then we will be out of business. So this started what is contemporary economics and capitalism, in the sense that you as a person are now spending money that you don't have on things that you don't need that are designed to break.
Wow.
If you're familiar with what I do on here,
that sounds so terrible.
You can understand why I really talk and gravitate to things from the 50s to the 80s. Essentially, if the red line is the amount of money somebody needs to make, right, and the black line is like profit and actual value in which somebody can afford something, and this axis is when they go into credit debt to afford something. I know that people are now making more money, right, because of the credit system, so I can slowly increase the amount that I charge for stuff to the point where people are now going into excess debt to afford those products. But what does this look like in real time? So let's look at the Ford Bronco, right? Fix or repair daily. A car that is known for no longer being well made, an American-made machine. How much would a Ford Bronco have cost me in 1980? SRP for a Ford Bronco in 1980 was around $7,000. After taxes, I would roughly estimate it cost around $10,000. Adjusted for inflation, that is $27,000. Keep in mind that if we adjusted the Ford Bronco's price from 1980 in 2020 money, it should really only be a $20,000 vehicle. Why the fuck is it $39,000?
Oh god, he's scaring me. He's getting loud.
Lead into the financial crisis, but I forgot to mention something about Mr. Ronald Reagan. I forgot to mention something that the literal spawn of Satan also led to, and it's this thing called...
Well, obviously this guy's definitely towards a certain side. He's a little biased, as am I, but This guy way more.
Union busting, right? So what is union
nah,
busting?
he did
Well,
union
unions
busting?
are
Oh,
essentially
no.
when workers band together and collectively use their rights as bargaining power against their employer.
The only bargaining chip they have.
In which they ensure that their excess labor doesn't become exploitative and they don't get taken advantage of. Anybody tells you being in a union is not in your best interest
is probably a greedy business owner.
Get the fuck away from them, because unions have led to a lot of great things in worker safety. Back in ye old times, your employer truly did not give a fuck about you. People were dying. In fact,
same as today.
Factory fires left, right. There were no safety precautions. You were breathing in asbestos. You were putting mercury on your face. Now you got lead poisoning and you dying in 2 weeks of tuberculosis or whatever them like radium girls died of, right?
Wow.
So unionization has led to stuff that you currently benefit from. Thank unionization for things like OSHA. The reason why we're like hee hee ha ha if I fall off this ladder, workers comp, it's OSHA.
Damn.
OSHA saved your ass. Unionization helps the worker. This is what I'm saying when I tell you America lacks solid class solidarity, because a lot,
which to me is one of the reasons for that is, again, because of the media. The media wanted to split us up and they did. They made us more isolated.
A lot of people have been lied to thinking that they're rich.
A lot of people have been lied to thinking we don't live in a dark dimension.
Get back to the credit system. Because we got rid of the gold standard back in ye old times, our entire economic system is based off of fake fucking money called credit. This led to the financial crisis of 2008, in which banks overextended themselves, this, that, and the other, and they were forfeiting on money that they owed other banks, etc., etc. The entire system collapsed. People lost their houses. People lost their jobs. It was a very bad time.
Wow.
Anytime somebody's like, oh, you know, like people don't deserve like a livable minimum wage, that's unskilled work. Bullshit.
So what the fuck is the point of a minimum wage? To like live long enough to see other people enjoying themselves?
Shit, there ain't no such thing as an unskilled laborer in this world. When people slowly begin making $25 an hour at Walmart, your office job is going to pay you $48 to keep you there, because they know that if you make more money at Walmart, why the fuck is you working in their corporate office and not Walmart?
Wow.
Also, how they get you with things like insurance. I'm not going to leave my job because I get good insurance here, this, that, and the other, right? Your whole life is indebted to this job. You are indentured to your laborer.
I'm glad he said indentured, because it's like slavery.
Land is like a commodity that is a scarce commodity. We are going to run out of land, right? So a bunch of banks and conglomerates get together and buy up a bunch of land in bulk. Let's get back.
And the worst part is, this is the same thing they do for real estate and apartments, and they literally just leave those shits empty.
To this like curve, right? So what has been happening with like the income crisis? So landlords slowly raise the price of rent to the point where if this axis represents where you can no longer afford something, you would then be homeless, right? So they are slowly getting to that point without sending you over. This is what I'm saying when I say that landlords are exploitative. What landlords do does not create excess value. What they did was they bought a bunch of land, apartments, etc. in bulk, and then charge people more than what they bought so that they can make a profit. Profit is made off the excess created from capital. Excess. Keyword excess. There is no such thing as an ethical billionaire. Capital is created in which you extract excess value, i.e. the amount of labor costs that you need to put in than what you end up turning in your profit.
Very true.
I.e. Jeff Bezos makes money by not paying people a livable wage. I think a lot of people see this excess exploitation, which is why people don't want class solidarity.
And they also quote unquote don't want to work anymore
With the lower or middle class, because they don't want to acknowledge that they are being taken advantage of at every turn.
Damn, that's literally how I feel. Okay. Damn, that was another long video. I didn't think we'd get to 2, but pretty nice video. Pretty nice video. Let's go next. There's not much I have to say about it.
Good morning.
Okay, there's only a minute, thank God.
Billionaires shouldn't financially exist, and the robots are coming to take your job no matter what.
Look at this shit. It's a robot cleaner.
And with the recent developments in artificial intelligence, I've had this fun thought in my head that when a robot and an AI
look at it struggling,
take every last job on Earth, truly, we will never have to work again. and everything can be free.
Yeah, you know, it's going to be free for everyone starving.
The communist dream brought to us by the greed of capitalism.
Wow.
A robot like this costs around $250,000.
Imagine it breaks.
But the average janitor makes $35,000 per year.
Wow.
A robot technician makes $75 per hour.
Crazy. Oh my, I'm getting so disgusted.
And parts take time to be ordered. So, at what point do we as a society determine that universal basic income and the billionaire class not existing would be in our benefit?
God, I wish. I wish.
Because at this point, it just seems like...
What is it all for?
The cruelty is the point.
He's not wrong. Holy shit. Alright, how long have we been going? We've been going for about a little over an hour. Let's see how long the next one is.
The EPA is just gonna...
Okay, it's about a minute. It's Philly D2. Let me see how long we got. Let me see real quick. So we started August 18th. And we ended, if we were to end here, August 21st. Interesting, which would almost make us a month behind by the time we do this next week. Excuse me. But you can see how I slowed down the posts here. Honestly, because there's not that many going forward until very recent, I think I'm honestly going to stop it here. Just because I am getting exhausted. I do have other things to do. And that's pretty much it. So I think I'm good with stopping here. Let's give this one a like. The fucking robo toilet dispenser that costs way more than a worker would and probably does a shittier job. Granted, I think that's just the curse of technologies for this current time. I think as things go forward, they're going to get more cheaper and better, as things always do with generational stuff. But once that happens, who knows what's going to happen to us, the peons and stuff. Anyway, yeah, that's going to be it for episode 33. I hope everyone enjoyed. If there's anything you would like to send me, please send it to my main account right here, Tecnics, and I will see it and see if it's good enough to go to the series here. And yeah, this is a big ad for my Twitch channel. Please go to my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Tecnics channel, and my YouTube is youtube.com/Tecnics. Come over there and watch some amazing content. Anyway, hope everyone enjoyed. Yee!